Welcome to Pop Culture Retro, which was recently voted the 15th best podcast by the residents of Golden Years Retirement Community in Boca Raton, Florida. Each show will revisit some of your favorite pop culture memories with insider and outsider perspectives. Now, please help me welcome your hosts, Moosie Drier and Jonathan Rosen.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Pop Culture Retro. I'm Jonathan Rosen, along with Moosie Drier, and today we're excited to welcome an Emmy Award-winning writer and producer who has worked on such shows as The Simpsons, Malcolm in the Middle, and one of my all-time favorites, Frasier. He also hosts his own podcast, Don't Be Alone with Jay Kogen, and most importantly, he's a fellow Brooklynite.
And the Emmy goes to Jay Kogen, Frasier.
Please help us welcome Jay Kogen. Jay, thanks so much for joining us today.
Brooklynite is a little bit of a misleading. I grew up in Encino, so I was born in Brooklyn. The first 5 years in Brooklyn. I'm really a Valley, LA guy.
But you can't take the Brooklyn out of someone, though. It's to me.
They've tried. I've had surgeons try to remove it. It has not been successful.
Well, yeah. I do want to start by going back with you. So you grew up, you moved very quickly?
I moved very quick. Well, it seems that my father got a job writing in television in Los Angeles, and I decided to move with him. You know, I decided instead of staying alone at 5 years old in our apartment, my mom, my sister, and my dad were moving west. I said, okay, I'll go too.
Did you enjoy writing as a kid? Did I
enjoy what?
Writing as a kid. Did you?
No. I hate it now. Why would I enjoy it? It's terrible. It's a miserable thing to sit alone with your pain and think you are horrible. Like writing every sentence, think this is terrible. Oh, and you have to get through it.
I hear you.
Acting's fun. Directing's fun. Writing's horrible.
Yeah. What were the shows that you loved growing up? What were you influenced by? Shows, movies?
Well, you know, I loved the Jameson's Kids, Sarge, War Between Men and Women. Here Comes the Judge, Lassie, Up the Sandbox.
Oh,
Marcus
stop
Welby,
it! Oh, stop!
The Waltons, Adam 12, FBI.
Somebody has the internet. Somebody has an internet connection.
I knew who you were when I was a kid watching TV. I knew who you were.
That's crazy.
No, there were certain kids when I was a kid and I wanted to be on TV. I wanted to be an actor. I was like, I knew who you were. And you were like, I was jealous of your, you on some footage of you on a school bus. Like, oh, that's cool. I want to do that.
Oh, on a scuba, did you say? Yeah.
School bus, yeah.
Oh, school bus. I thought you said scuba.
No, school bus.
Like scuba diving movie. And I thought.
Knew who you were then. I know who you are now. But the shows that I watched when I was a kid was every fucking good. Can we swear on the show? Do we swear?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Every fucking TV show there was, because I was a latchkey kid. I'm sitting at home and I'm turning on the TV and I watched every good show and every horrible show. I watched My Mother the Car. I watched Bewitched. I watched Kimba the White Lion. I watched like everything. But I wound up watching good shows too, like the Mary Tyler Moore Show and the Bob Newhart Show and Sergeant Bilko, and I would listen to the Jack Benny Radio Show, and I would I would just consume entertainment.
Yeah.
Big influence was like you were on Laugh-In was a big influence. Monty Python was a big influence. SCTV was a big influence. Saturday Night Live was a big influence.
I want to talk about sketch at some point because you wrote for the Tracy Ullman Show, but that's coming up. But we're going to talk about that a little bit. You were acting at some point, and you were on the Bob Newhart Show, which we didn't work together. And no. I don't think I did an episode with your father, though I know who he is still. Mm-hmm. So what was?
Oh wait, what time is it? Oh yeah, he still is. Yeah.
Okay. Don't.
He's 91.
I know.
It's iffy. When it airs, we don't know what's going to happen. So
you're also a comedy writer, so it's like a rite of passage. You have to say, "What time is it?" Okay, he's still here. Yeah,
but it's true. My father. That would be a joke approved by my father. That would be not. He would not at all.
Of course,
be offended, but he would love it. But no, we in our family we take sacred things pretty silly and silly things pretty sacred.
You did an acting gig.
Stop. Let's just talk about the Bob Newhart Show and your time on the Bob Newhart Show, because that environment, Bob specifically, and Suzanne and Bill Daly, and it's like the greatest people. I thought the greatest people. I thought adorable. I thought showed me as if somebody wanted to be in show business that you didn't have to be an asshole to be in show business. You got to get to work, have a good time, be professional, and go home.
I stopped acting in, I want to say my 30s or something, as far as on camera stuff. I remember anything else I did after Bob Newhart show, I appreciated the show, Bob Newhart show, more. It's everything you said and plus some. I mean, first of all, the writing on the show, Tom Patchett, Jay Tarsis, Larry David, Goldberg, Cy Rosen, Carlton the Doorman, Lorenzo Music, your dad. It's just, it was perfect. It was just a freaking perfect environment. And man, you know what? You can't find a better protagonist in a sitcom than Bob Newhart. There's no one. Common rule in comedy. There's music to what you guys write, you know, and he would somehow still take that timing, make it his own, put his little stuttering and pauses in it and make it work. Yeah,
I agree. Committed. He was committed to his craft and his bit, and he knew what worked for him, and he didn't, you know, he although people wanted him to speed up or change it or stop, you know, mumbling so much, and he was like, mumbling's good. This is what I do. And he stuck to his guns. He's great, but he also just is a person. I respect Carol Burnett and Bob Newhart were the two people I got to see growing up because my dad worked with them. And I thought, this show business isn't just for people who are damaged. Show business is for people who can also just have a career and enjoy themselves. I mean, it's also for people who are damaged, but you know.
Speaking of funny people, you did not have many acting roles, but you with some of the funniest people. And I want to ask you about Gary Shandling, because I was such a huge fan, and you had several appearances on his show as well.
Yes. Well, Gary was a bit of a mentor of mine. I loved Gary, and he was a very, very genius guy. So funny and would work. No one worked harder on making a joke or making a script, and he would take a script and rewrite it and rewrite and rewrite it, and he'd go past when it was great, and then continue to rewrite it to make it shittier, and then rewrite again, and then go back. But you know, he was constantly working on it and trying to find not just what was good, but also this is true of his life. He was trying to find some peace and some inner peace in his life. It was kind of a really interesting guy.
The best theme song, one of my favorite theme songs is the Gary Shandling show.
Yes, fantastic theme song.
I'm almost halfway finished. How do you like it so far?
Right. Yeah, these are breakthrough shows. These are shows that changed the game. Gary Shandling's sitcom, you know, was a live action in front of an audience, but it was weird and it was surreal, and it had, you know, broke the third wall, the fourth wall, fifth wall, one of the walls. It broke one of the walls.
Yeah,
it broke a wall. And then the Larry Sanders Show did the same thing. It sort of changed the single camera comedy game a little bit.
You did a lot of acting. Well, not a lot. I wouldn't say a lot, but
I wanted to act more, but people wouldn't hire me.
So what made you go into the writing? Is that what it was? From being
I failed as an actor, so I became a writer. That's exactly what it was. I stopped being hired at the thing that I would prefer to do, and I got to be hired at the thing that they said I did well.
One of your first writing credits, I believe, was the Tracy Ullman Show. Is that right? We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but for those who don't know, that's where The Simpsons was born, because it was a little short bit on that show.
People don't know. Most people don't know. Most people don't remember the Tracy Ullman Show, but they remember The Simpsons because it's still on.
Go home.
It's not.
Go home. Yeah.
You know, it wasn't remarkably popular. It won some Emmys, but it wasn't like a gigantic hit show like the Simpsons.
How did you end up working as a writer on that show?
So I was working as I was flailing, trying to be something in show business. I didn't know what I would be qualified to do. I wanted to be an actor. I was doing stand-up comedy. I did the Groundlings. I was doing making little short films. And also along the way, I was being a production assistant on a lot of different shows. And one of the shows I was a production assistant on was It's Gary Shandling Show, which is why they sort of picked the runner. Oh, you can do this bit, or you can do this. They knew I wanted to act, so they were sort of throwing me bones. But I also, while I was there, wrote a spec It's Gary Shandling Show to show the writers, like, look, I can also do this because, again, flailing. I'll do anything. I worked the smoke machine for a special effects guy. Like I was trying to figure out where I fit into the world of show business, because once I stepped foot on a stage when I was 5, I thought this is fun, and then I've been doing it ever since. So I showed that script that I wrote with my high school buddy Wally Wolodarski, and we were both working as runners on the show. I got on the job, and we were hanging out. We showed it to the writers, and the writers said, "This is great." And then Gary didn't want us to be writers, so he said no. so then, and for whatever reason, and then one of the writers on that show was named Sam Simon, who was an executive producer of the Tracy Ullman Show. And Sam Simon read it, and he said, in my memory, he said, "Oh, this is fantastic." Later on, I asked him about it. He said, "It was good enough." and he passed it on to James L. Brooks and Heidi Perlman and Jerry Belson and these other stalwarts of comedy. And they said, "These guys can come in and pitch." So he pitched about 8 sketches. They bought one. We wrote that one sketch. They liked it enough to hire us as the lowest level writers on the Tracy Ullman Show, and I've been writing ever since.
I wanted to ask you about, because you came in during the second season. Is it tough to gain traction as a staff writer in an already established show? Like, how did the other writers treat you?
You're the lowest guy on the totem pole, no matter when you start. So it's like, yeah, it's tough. People aren't expecting much from you. When you're the bottom, when you're brand new, my advice to all starting writers is shut up, listen to what's going on, check in. Sometimes everybody wants to make their bones. Like, I got a joke and make an impression. Be quiet. Listen to the room, figure out the environment, and then start pitching in their world, not your world. And that's kind of what we did. We found plenty of traction because they wanted us to be workhorses. They said it was a sketch show. So you write the first draft of this, you write the first draft of that. We were easy. We were cheap. And we were easy. They loved using us, and they were going to rewrite us anyway. So it was fine.
You were a PA at the time.
Production assistant. I'd get sandwiches and Xerox scripts and deliver them at 3 a.m. We don't have to do that anymore.
Right. So when I started watching your podcast,
Don't Be Alone with Jay Kogen.
Some of my friends have been guests on your show. Andy Gordon, one of them. Andy Gordon was telling a story about, you guys were talking about Tom Lynch. So I did that show that Andy was talking about, and I got into the DGA through Tom Lynch. Andy he was a PA, and I run into Andy sometimes on occasion, and he's just a very good guy. But
mostly at the theater. He goes to the theater a lot, shows and concerts,
and he never holds back on his reviews. If you've
that's right.
If you
very funny recent review of West Side Story. Yes.
In the 90s, I'm walking on I think it was a Culver lot or something like that. And I run into Andy, and he's like, "Oh, I'm writing for Mad About You." Fast forwarding, he's executive producer of Modern Family and The Big Bang Theory. And he was a PA. And the fact that you guys make that jump.
It's not a mistake. That's how you do it. That's how you did it then. That's how you still do it. Got to get in on the ground floor and figure out where you fit in. Meet people. That's the networking part of it. If you're alone in your house, you can't really see how TV's working and how shows are working, and sort of figure out how to become a professional at this thing. And so, getting a job on a show and being or working at a desk at an agency, or finding other ways in that are available to you. Those are the ways to go. Nobody's going to just make you an executive producer of your own, create your own show and just give you a show. It just doesn't happen.
But I mean, I also tip my hats to the Tom Lynch and the James Brooks, who take the time to read your.
Oh, fantastic! I mean, Tommy is a force of nature. Tommy Lynch is incredible. I loved working with Tommy. I directed shows for him too. Like I got to be a director.
South of Nowhere.
First time, but I directed a lot of shows that I was on a show that we were working on together. So that was fun. But he's this ball of energy, and he's always doing stuff. And, he's this weird, overconfident guy who's also incredibly insecure. And so he's walking around with these two things.
Well, Tommy and I had lunch at coffee, like a 2-hour cup of coffee a couple of weeks ago at the Glenn Center here. And,
right.
He hasn't changed. I love Tom Lynch. And he hopped the fence in Santa Monica at the Santa Monica Civic Center in like the early 70s, and they were shooting the Don Kirshner rock concert. He just wanted to be involved in television.
Right.
And he just started picking up cables and pretending to work.
Right.
in production. And eventually somebody said like, hey, what do you do here? And somehow he ended up working on the show. And that's how he got in.
Of course, he became the producer of the Don Kirshner's rock concert. He became the producer of Don Kirshner's rock concert, and one of the shows I PA'd for was him years and years earlier on the Don Kirshner's rock concert.
Wow, yeah, and then
when I said I worked the Smoke Machine, it was for the Don Kirshner's rock concert.
The Smoke Machine, yeah.
Yeah, so I want to ask because you were on Tracy Ullman. I love Tracy Ullman. I did enjoy that show a lot. Then you went to The Simpsons, so they were popular on Tracy Ullman, but then they just exploded. So, how surprised was everyone that this cartoon just like took off with this like huge life of its own?
Everyone. There's not a person involved with it who wasn't shocked that it was a big thing. I mean, it was a interstitial cartoon on the Tracy Ullman Show,
right.
And it was going well. And they said, Jim Brooks showed Barry Diller, is it like, our audience is pretty much enjoying this. Do you want to make this a show? And they said, yeah, we'll give you a pilot. He said, no, we can't just do a pilot. I said, we'll give you 4. I said, no, we can't do 4. If we're going to do 4, then you'll cancel it. That's not enough. And he said, well, 13, we'll only do 13. And he said, no, you can't. And they eventually said, okay, Jim, 13 shows, you'll make it. And we made 13 shows. And
did you guys ever make any more than that?
They're on like 800 now. But I mean, of the 13 shows, the 7th show was our Christmas episode. And that was when we finally started figuring out what the show was. And say, okay, that will be our first show that we show. And that was, if we had showed the first show we made, no one would have liked our show. So it took a while. It was genius to say, let's make 13, because we would have failed with 1 or 4 or whatever. We needed time to adjust what we were writing, how they were making it, how they were animating it, all of it.
You wrote Bart the Daredevil, didn't you?
I did. I'm very proud of that. I love that show.
Good Lord.
No. I will take the love. Yes. I show that show sometimes to people when they say, we want to show something you're proud of. I was like, I show that, and I show a movie that I made. Like that, those are things that a couple things I really, really am proud of.
It is so smart and so well written, and I don't even care that
if you've missed The Simpsons, it's a choice. Like at this point, it's a choice. You've chosen to not see it. It's like Saturday Night Live. If you've chosen to never see an episode of Saturday Night Live, that is a choice you have made, and fair enough. But it's sort of like, it's a cultural thing that you're gonna do, and I don't know. My dad used to write for Mad Magazine. That's another cultural thing. If you never saw Mad Magazine or National Lampoon, when we were our age, like, you've missed something. So I don't know. I mean, it's the Tracy Ullman. The Simpsons is still good, by the way. Simpsons right now, this week, will be a very funny episode. It's still really great.
Is it the horror one, the House of Horror thing, or the?
I don't know. I do love when they do those. Actually, the Treehouse of Horror ones.
Well, he wrote these too.
I know. I saw that.
No, I created the House of Horror. We did. There was an idea that Matt Groening kind of had, and Wally and I sort of took the mantle and said, "Yeah, let's do it," because at the time people weren't really, receptive to doing things other than the family stories. The whole point at the beginning was, we want people to think this is a real sitcom as much as possible with real people and real emotions. And then the Treehouse of Horror was, parodies and goofy stuff, and that was the antithetical to what we were doing.
Yeah. So you're the one that first had the idea to do Treehouse of Horror?
Matt Groening had the idea of saying, well, why don't we have kids tell ghost stories in the treehouse? And then Wally and I sort of pushed it forward, saying, we can, when they tell the stories, we can watch the stories and animate whatever we want. And it became now an annual fantastic thing.
As a writer, okay, so if you're not writing for animation, people have been handed scripts back to them like, we can't afford them to be in a castle. We can't afford, You can write anything.
That was the beauty of it. We watched from the Tracy Ullman Show, which was, we have to do 7-10 pages in one set with 4 actors, no more. Yeah. So writing little sketches and little playlets, which was fun. To going to saying, okay, now you can write anything for any amount of people and any amount of time. So you can write you can write a 16th of a page in Brazil, and then cut back to the next 16th of the page in Paris, and the next 16th of the page in a filled soccer stadium. And it's like they could make it all, and that was not a problem. The only limitation was what's funny, what's in your imagination, and what's the point of what you're trying to say.
And the only thing that might drive up the budget in that is, the amount of voice actors is that you're going to bring into a scene, I guess. I mean, I don't know. It's just,
no, because we had 5 voice actors
doing
all the other voices. That was the point. That's why we saved a fortune, because everybody was doing everything, which led eventually to some problems, because people weren't being represented. All the people that we were representing on the screen weren't represented by people, by the voices of people who are the same representation.
It's a perfect crime.
Yeah. It was money. In our defense, it was greed.
Right. Nice.
Can you talk about that cast a little? Because, and in particular, the late Phil Hartman. He's so great. I loved him. What were some of your memories of Phil?
Well, Phil, I knew from the Groundlings. I was early in the Groundlings, and Phil was a Groundling, and he was one of these guys who we loved, and it was kind of like very weird combination of Jack Benny and a hippie, a surfer. Like he was both those things. And so I knew him, and he was great. Well, anyway, on to Saturday Night Live, and everybody else got to know who he was. And Sam Simon said, we should get Phil. He does 1 million voices. Well, the truth is, Phil doesn't do 1 million voices. He does 2 voices. They all sound like Phil. Like
it's a variation of Phil, right?
Phil's Frank Sinatra sounds like Phil. Phil's Ronald Reagan is Phil. He's not the master of 1,000 voices. He's just really funny and commits to it. And so he's Lionel Hutz on The Simpsons. He's like several voices. It was Troy McClure. He was a bunch of voices. They're the same voice. It's all good.
Yeah.
That voice. I talk like this. And then,
right. You were there at The Simpsons the same time as Conan O'Brien.
Yeah, he came after me. We were there for a few years, and then Conan came, and then almost immediately left. We left, and Conan was still there, and then he left to go do his show.
Oh, so you didn't really spend too much time on?
I did. I got him his computer. I got him hooked up. I set him up in his office. Yeah. I took him under my wing. Said, "You're gonna go places, kid."
Did it surprise you that he ended up with his own late night talk show? I mean,
yes. That would if you grew up with Lee Harvey Oswald, did it surprise you that he shot President Kennedy?
Yes.
It was a shock. No one pegged him to be the next Johnny Carson. There was no Conan, this weird, gigantic, red-haired guy who won't stop talking. He's going to be the next talk show guy. And I did. I was surprised.
I remember it was awkward, but he found his niche.
Oh my God, it was great.
Yeah.
He's so funny. And so sharp, and really tries hard. He works really hard. And so all that is true. He just didn't seem like a performer. He'd never done stand-up comedy. He's like none of the qualifications that you'd have. And then instantly he had the David Letterman show, the spot for the David Letterman show, and he had that show, and he was great. He wasn't great. He learned how to interview. He learned what was right, but he was given time to be really funny. And now he's an icon. Now people grow up with him and said, I want to be like Conan. I want to do sharp and interesting, funny things like Conan.
Right.
Okay, so Jay, you go from one huge hit to another one in Frasier.
I hopped on Frasier while it was full steam, and it was a gigantic success. All I could do was ruin it. It was a top 10 show. A funny story. I was offered to work on Seinfeld and Frasier twice. Wow. And I had to choose between, first time I was offered Seinfeld, Frasier, and a show called The Single Guy. And I chose The Single Guy. Not a good choice. Then, because they were offering me a ton of money and a put pilot. And I thought, okay, I'll do it because you got to make my pilot. Well, NBC reneged on the put pilot. And then I quit the show after the first year, or they fired me. I'm not sure which. Anyway, I was free to go pursue another one. And Larry David offered me Seinfeld again. And then I was chosen Frasier again to go work on it. I had to make that the Sophie's choice of which one to go to. I picked Frasier, because I came from The Simpsons, which was pretty wacky, and I thought Frasier would give me a little class. I thought Frasier would give me a little
Smart show.
for you kind of think of your career. I mean, I wasn't thinking of it when I went on The Single Guy, but think of your career after that. It's one of the best pilots ever in the history of pilots, which Frasier, they establish a character we knew and put him in a different situation with the opposite, a lot of opposites. His dad was this blue collar tough guy, and he's sort of an effete. And then they put somebody even more effete, his brother Niles, next to him. So it made him more middle of the road, less of the weirdo that he was on Cheers. And they gave the crazy maid and Roz, the producer.
How often did you have times where they would say, I don't think my character would do that, because they were so established when you came in? Did anyone say, like, oh, that's not my character at all?
Yes. Kelsey would say that. Jane Leaves would say that. Occasionally David Pierce would say that. But that's where I learned that we're the writers, but they kind of own their characters. And so you're a writer, you just think it's funny. Say the funny thing. And they would say, like, my character, it's funny, but it's not funny in my character's voice. And I had to learn over time, respect that. And they're right. They know their character better than we do. They live it. They're every week they're trying to embody some lines, bring to life these lines in a way that they understand.
Did you have characters that you preferred, that you enjoyed writing for more than others?
Well, I mean, here's the thing on those guys. They're all, and I know people in show business sort of wax glorious about everybody. These guys were great. These guys were really good at what they did. And so when something was amiss, when something was bad, it's our fault. It's the writer's fault. It's clearly the writer's fault, because these people can't miss. They're really good. David Hyde Pierce specifically, when we had a problem with a line and it didn't work, David would very innocently and come to us and whisper to one of the writers, "What if the character says this?" And he's a genius. He's as good a writer as he is an actor. And he would fix the script, he would fix the story, and it would never be his character. It would be somebody else's line for something else. He's generous. He's a genius. And and we're working with that, and we're working with all the other actors who are so giving and so wonderful. I'd never worked on a show where the cast didn't blame the writers and the writers didn't blame the cast. That was, when things go wrong on Friends, my wife was on Friends. On Friends, there was a little tension between the cast and the writers. On Frasier, it was like a love fest, and it worked really well. Kelsey was every show was run past Kelsey. Kelsey approved everything or didn't approve everything. The mistake with Kelsey is, don't give him interior direction. You would never give Frasier a line, angrily. If you put that in the interior direction, he would tank that line. He would say it not angrily. He would do it in a different way. So you learn to just write the line as angrily as possible itself and let the actor act.
Interpret it. Right.
Don't have to say any names, and not just Frasier, but your entire writing career. Has an actor just killed with the delivery of a line? I think actors have botched writing because of how it comes out, and you guys work so hard. And it just, through the run-throughs, it just not landing, but you want to go, my gosh, no, it's supposed to be said this way or done that.
Charlize Theron.
Hey.
I worked on a movie called Kubo and the Two Strings. Okay. This is an animated movie, and they kept bringing me in for comedy rewrites. And we kept giving jokes to Charlize Theron's character, and it was like, she couldn't tell a joke. It just was not possible. She's beautiful, a great actress. It just... maybe that was that moment and that thing, but just we could not get anything to be funny.
That's too bad.
Did I mention Charlize Theron? Did I mention it?
Yeah.
By the way, Charlize Theron, side story, I found her wallet at a movie theater one time before she was famous, and called SAG to return her wallet and to find her agent. So we got to find her to return her wallet. Returned her wallet to her agent. Never heard from her. So I have two strikes against Shirley.
So what did you win the Emmy for, Jay? And walk us through that. What was that like?
Moosie, I've won 4 Emmys. You got to be more specific.
My bad.
God, how am I supposed to remember?
Okay, the first Emmy.
Tracey Ullman show. And it felt great and completely undeserved. So that combination of, I'm just a peon on the show, but I get an Emmy. All right, I'll take it. Thank you.
Oh, but I mean,
It's fun. It's fun to go and it's fun to win. It's sad to lose.
yeah.
It's fun to go to the parties, all that stuff. But they're trophies. They're goofy trophies. The one I got to give a speech for was for Frasier, and a writing Emmy. I was against Aaron Sorkin and David Kelly and a bunch of other really great writers, and remarkably I won. And I got to give a goofy, funny speech about being much better objectively than David Kelly. And I, looked at Michelle Pfeiffer and said, "I'm better. I'm just saying." And had a good time with that. But awards are dumb and goofy, and it's fun to be there. It's fun to get trophies, but it's all.
Going back to Frasier, a couple of years ago, there was the Frasier reboot. You became involved in that as well. So what was that like for you after so many years to return to this character?
Really weird. It was really weird.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's kind of like if you had graduated from high school and then went back to high school and one of the people from high school was still there and everybody else had gone and he's still in the classroom in the same seat he was when he was in 12th grade. And he's like, this is strange. But they're trying to reboot. They're trying to do what they did with the original Frasier, which is reboot it completely in a new town with a bunch of new characters and start again. And that's really hard to do. It was done by people who weren't on the original show. So what's interesting was the people who developed that show with Kelsey and with Kelsey's company were fans of the original Frasier. So it's interesting their take on what they thought Frasier was, a fan's take on what Frasier was versus what we thought we were making.
Oh, wow.
Often two different things. So they had this take that Frasier's an alcoholic and Frasier's full of dumb jokes and he's an idiot and that wasn't the show that I remember making, but it was my job to tell them, hey, don't do it that way, that they got the show on. My job was saying, like, how do you want it, boss? Like, how can I help everybody go home? What's the next beat of thing? I would suggest things. I would say that maybe this line is a little goofy and maybe Kelsey won't like it. Maybe we can beat this one. But for the most part, I was just like, let's follow your vision. You new guys. Let's follow your vision and see where it takes us.
Did you notice Kelsey changed in any way from the original till then?
Kelsey's character or Kelsey Grammer?
Kelsey himself.
Yes. When in Frasier, when we were on Frasier, he was in a really healthy state, pretty happy, married, all this other stuff, very creative, very energetic. And the Kelsey I met a few years later, also very healthy, in a healthy state, not bad, but older. So he's just a little older, and also a little bit more gruff in terms of he knew more than the people who were running the show. I think he did know more, but he felt like he knew more. And so he kept saying, like, I hope these kids come around to making the show I want them to make. But Kelsey's a genius. Kelsey's really smart. He's so funny. He knows what's good. And he also just wanted to do this thing again. He really wanted he pushed it up like Sisyphus, puts that rock up the hill and made it happen. And he got 2 seasons of this thing to work. So good for him. But I don't know if it ever gelled in the way that we had hoped it would gel.
There's that trying to find the lightning in a bottle element that no matter who the person is or who the people are, just if it's not in the cards, it's not in the cards.
Yeah, it's the X factor. Exactly. It's chemistry. It's like what is the thing, and sometimes it's casting, and sometimes it's, there's a million ways that things can go wrong. I thought some of the actors, some of the guests, the regulars on the new Frasier, I as a writer couldn't quite nail down what that character was. You just like, because the actor, when I read the pilot script, it seemed like the character was this thing, but the actor is playing it this way. So I'm trying to sort of figure out where the funny is in that. And
you also wrote for a great show, Malcolm in the Middle. Talk about that experience.
Also amazing. These are all different and amazing experiences. The Simpsons is an amazing experience because it was like being on Star Wars. It was like you're on a rocket that everybody knows your work, and it's incredible. Frasier was like being in the classiest theater in Broadway, and then Malcolm in the Middle was just a strange, weird world of Linwood Boomer, who is fantastic genius. Every episode of Malcolm in the Middle went in a direction that none of us could figure. Only Linwood could. And so it was one of those things where we would write a draft, we would pitch a story, and it would go like, it doesn't end that way. It's got to end this way. And we'd like, take us there, Linwood, take us. And
Such a funny show. Yeah.
It was a funny show. And so many unexpected weird things happened in the show from the day one and continued. We just did a reboot of that. Isn't it great?
Yeah.
We just did a reboot of Malcolm in the Middle for Christmas.
Were you involved in the reboot?
I was. So there's 4 episodes coming out on Disney Plus around Christmas time for Malcolm in the Middle, and they'll be packaged with the old series to give it a boost.
Oh,
and everybody came back. All the people, almost everybody. One actor.
One actor did not.
One kid actor decided to wise up, Bluey, and he just said, "I don't want to do it." But everybody else came back.
I remember before Cranston was Bryan Cranston. He wasn't nearly as well known.
Right.
Watching Cranston and thinking this guy, and I'm sure I've been wrong many times about people. Like that guy. When he would do his I don't know. I'm picturing the scene in dancing in the underwear or whatever. Like,
yes.
There was no question in your mind that he's an actor who commits.
There's a theme to this show, which is Bob Newhart commits to what he's doing. Carol Burnett commits to what she's doing. Bryan Cranston, Kelsey Grammer and David Hyde Pierce, they're all committed. Bryan Cranston is super committed, and all these people are joyous. When they're acting, they're bringing something a little bit more than just acting. They're bringing joyous humanity to it. Even when it's sad, they're bringing life force, and that is remarkable. Bryan was given an assignment like, this episode, you're going to be on a pogo stick the whole time. And he would say, when can I start practicing the pogo stick? As opposed to most actors, which would go like, I want to shoot myself. How am I going to be on a pogo stick for days? He's a lovely man. He's a brilliant man. He was on my podcast. One of the great episodes of my podcast was with Bryan. And we just talk about this commitment. Where did it come from? And I think a lot of it came from, he half-assed it for a little while. He was trying to be an actor, sort of, but not really. And then he got some places, but didn't get other. And when he finally got the opportunity to be a star in Malcolm, it was a big deal. And then when he got to be a bigger star in Breaking Bad, it was a bigger deal. He was able to appreciate those moments, and still to this day is able to appreciate what his work has brought him, and how lucky he is in this position, and how joyous it is to be an actor and given all this opportunity.
If he's that committed, there's no wavering on his part. So you have no choice but to be all in. I believe that he believes. So
100%.
There's no critique. There's nothing you can do.
There's an energy you bring to it, right? When you really believe it, when you want to do it, when you're having fun, there's an energy you bring to it. Now, you don't want it to lead to overacting. You don't want it to lead to thing, but there's that thing. And, some people have it, they're silent and they're staring at you, but they still have that thing.
I want to give us a little departure here, because you were in one of my favorite documentaries about the filthiest joke ever, The Aristocrats. So what are your thoughts with, like, they want to make a documentary about one joke? And when was the first time you heard the joke?
I heard it when I was a kid, I'm sure. I heard it when I was, when I was 16 or 15 or something like that. But it's not a documentary about a joke. It's a documentary about comedy, and it's a documentary about the jazz of comedy.
Right. Yeah, I feel like it's a documentary on how to tell the joke, the journey to that punchline.
Exactly. Everybody has their own interpretation, their own style. Mm-hmm. So that's why I say it's like jazz. Like every different comedian, Robert Wall would say it differently than John Mulaney or Nate Bargatze or whatever. Everybody has their own. They bring their own sensibility to it. So it's a platform for your humor. It's kind of like a blank canvas in a way, because we all know what the joke is and where it's going. And I don't know if your audience knows this joke, The Aristocrats, but it's basically the very short, unfunny version is, there's a vaudeville, there's a theater manager, and there's a guy, an agent trying to sell his an act, and the act is a father, a mother, a daughter, and a son, and they go on stage and they do the most horrific, sexual, disgusting feces, whatever it is, the grossest stuff. And the manager says, what are they called? And then the agent says, the Aristocrats. So like it's and the jazz of it is, what are the specifics of what the father's doing, the mother's doing, the daughter's doing, what's going on with all these people, and how much can you build the joke and the story?
Who can make this family more despicable, or
who can be grosser? Who can be more interesting? Who can tell it in a weird way? What are some of the unusual paths to get to there? It's all that.
It really tells you, and specifically, oh, that's kind of who that comic is. That's their personality, and that's the way they see it. And
right. I mean, it's like a painter's. It's like it really is talking about the artistic vision of people, and they use that joke as a platform. That really gross, disgusting joke as a platform, and that's kind of what, ironically, it's about how beautiful art is, while they're talking about the most disgusting things in the world.
And it's a feel-good ending. Gets you here and gets you here.
Totally the opposite from the Aristocrats. You created a show for Nickelodeon, Wendell and Vinnie, starred Jerry Trainer from iCarly. Talk about that show. What was the experience now? Something that you created was on TV. You came to work for all these other things that had already been done before, but now something that you created is on the show.
I've been writing pilots for years. And that may have been the first one that became a series. I'm not sure, but I was ready to be a showrunner, first of all. Second of all, Nickelodeon said we wanted a show that was a companion piece to Friends, because they were rerunning Friends at night. So they said this is going to be at Nick at Night. So I said, all right, I'm going to make a show that's a companion piece to Friends. So it's going to be about dating, and it's going to be, but it'll have one kid in it to sort of match the Nickelodeon vibe. So I made this show about Jerry Trainer's character, who is a single guy. He kind of in love with his next door neighbor, dating a lot of people, and his sister are trying to raise this kid who is an orphan who they got. So that was the show. But really, the show is about me being an idiot dad with a genius kid. In real life, my son is a really smart and great singer, songwriter, musician, Charlie Kogen on Spotify, Kogen. He's great. And knowing that anything I did as I raising him would just ruin him. Like I was in the position of messing him up. Like he's perfect as he is, and I was in the position of just making him horrible. So that was what the show was about. It was Jerry Trainer trying to raise an incapable person, shouldn't be a dad, raising this young kid, and also, trying to also be a regular single guy at the same time. The problem with it was iCarly went off the air and they said, we're taking your show and putting it on the kids area. I said, there's dirty jokes there's like language that wouldn't be on kids. They said, don't worry about it. I said, but it's not going to appeal. Adults dating is not going to appeal to your kid audience. You're not going to get the ratings you want. Don't worry about it. Well, I made 20 episodes of a show I loved. It's great. I love every single episode. It's heartfelt. It's funny. It's well acted. It doesn't feel like a Nickelodeon show. It feels like a NBC must-see TV kind of real actors doing real funny things and committing to the reality. And I'm very proud of it. But for some reason, we couldn't get the 5-year-olds. So it went off the air after one season.
Jerry Trainer was fantastic in that show. Really was.
He really was and is. He's a brilliant guy. And the reason, well, it was a funny story about how it came about. Nickelodeon asked me to write that show, companion piece to Friends, and they were hoping that it would be a Jerry Trainer from iCarly would star in it. I said, great, sounds good to me. So I wrote it up. And then Nickelodeon was at the same time trying to sign Jerry Trainer to some kind of like development deal or to snag him and say like, you're exclusive to us. And Jerry Trainer said, no, I'm not going to sign that deal. I don't want to be exclusive to you. I want to branch out. So Nickelodeon kept saying, well, you can't show the script to Jerry because he hasn't signed the deal. And I was like, but he might sign the deal if he likes the show. I said, no, you can't. So for months they were keeping it apart. Wow. And I forget who, there was some manager or executive who just went like, slipped the script to Jerry. And he went, oh, I'll do this. And that was solved. But the Nickelodeon just wanted him to be locked up before they did it. It's like, that's ridiculous. Let people do what they want.
Great episode with you and Maggie Baird on your podcast.
Oh, thanks.
Our friend Maggie who so her kids are Billie Eilish and Phineas, just wildly successful, and she guides you through. She gives you a lot of good advice.
Really great advice. She always has, by the way, not just from that podcast, but I've called her many times, and she's given Charlie a lot of attention and love. I mean, she's that kind of person. But I really did appreciate it, and I don't expect my son to be the next Billie Eilish, but I just want him to have a shot at living a creative life and making a living at doing what he loves. So that's a hard task these days in any of the arts, but especially music.
You went on to do Henry Danger, the show. I think was created by Dan Schneider.
Yeah.
You're obviously cognizant of the controversy with him or whatever.
What controversy? I didn't see nothing. No, here's there was that documentary that was made, and I am not a defender of Dan's because I think Dan was not a good boss. But I don't think that the stuff they showed was like salacious weirdo. Like they put weird porn music underneath normal Nickelodeon kid stuff. When kids are sprayed in the face with gunk, it could be considered sexual, but mostly it's considered gross. Like if you ever watch the Kids' Choice Awards, people are sprayed with green goo every 5 minutes. And it's like, is that sexual? No, it's not sexual. It's kids having fun because it's gross and it's weird. And so like, I think they unfairly sort of painted and took clips of things, tried to sexualize stuff that he was doing. I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's true. And I think when you run a kids show, the first thing Nickelodeon tells you is these are not verbal jokes. These are physical jokes. People are going to fall down. People are going to get sprayed with food. People are going to get, fall into pits of stuff and crash through windows. It's physical. And so some of the physical stuff's going to be messy. Yeah. That's okay. The other stuff, which is kid actors complaining that their lives were ruined by being kid actors. Yeah. Agreed. We can agree that there is a way to have a really horrible life if you're a kid actor. And I feel and you have more to say about this, Moosie, than I do, but I think some kids loved it and wanted to be there, and that was their dream, and other kids did not, and other kids were not ready for the tough world of like, you're in it or you're out. That's a tough thing to put kids through.
Yeah, I would talk more about that, but I'm scheduled to rob a pharmacy in about 10 minutes. So.
But honestly, didn't you think that like somebody like Jodie Foster, like born to be acting at that? Well, I don't care what age she was; she wanted to do it, and her parents couldn't stop her, right? So that person should be in front of the camera. There's other kids that we probably knew that could have taken it or leaving it, and if you don't care that much, spending all your afternoons auditioning is kind of a shitty way to grow up. And if you think your family's income depends on you doing it, it's also not fair.
Yeah.
Let's move on to your podcast, the Don't Be Alone with Jay Kogen. So it's
Speaking
really
of creepy,
fun.
Speaking of creepy, right?
No, Moosie, we've been singing your praises. We both talked about it with each other before you came on. We've been enjoying your episodes, so it's really fun. You do a great job at it. So tell us about the show. What prompted you to start it?
That's why I'm here right now. I could be writing. I'm here with you. Yeah. Here's the thing. I go on podcasts like your own. I enjoy talking with people like you guys. Sitting alone and writing is sad, lonely work, as I said from the beginning. Having a reason to call friends or people I don't even know and say, I'm going to sit and talk with you for an hour and a half is such a joy for me. I love it. I want to get to know people. I want to ask them where they are. Like even on this show, I want to ask both of you a million questions, and I think I've been trying to not to overstep too much, but I want to find out more about you guys and what your lives are like now and how things are. I'm curious, and this is what my podcast is kind of about. That it's also about, ostensibly, when I have somebody on, I think, what can this person tell me that I want to know about my life? Well, how can they help me with my problem? And Maggie Baird was a perfect example. Mm-hmm. I've got a kid trying to be a musician. Maggie, tell me what I should be doing as a parent to help him or stay out of his way. Let me know.
Okay, so being a seasoned writer, explain the expression killing your darlings.
Killing your darlings is when you write something, you think, oh, this is going to be great, and this is going to be great. Most of the time, you think this is horrible, horrible, but eventually you get to this is great. You've done revisions and stuff, and you've fallen in love with it and the script. And then as you're rewriting it, or you go to read through, and things don't get laughs, or things get in the way, or there's a moment that's destroying the chemistry of the scene, you got to cut stuff. And sometimes you got to cut stuff you love. And it really hurts because you think, oh, this is going to be so good when people see it. And then you realize people will never see it because it's going to be cut, because it's, you're cutting out some little problem better for the whole than just this moment. And that's the hard part. It's the thing you learn over time. Now, I do allow myself, when I'm a showrunner or in charge, one or two things that may not get a laugh, but I want to see it. At least I want to see it on stage. At least I want to hear it one time. I want to see if it works. So I don't always kill everything right away. Sometimes I give it one more day or one more try. We say goodbye to that other thing because it wasn't working. And the more we try to reclaim the stuff that wasn't working, the more we'll have another scene that doesn't work. So we all want to go home and see our family. Not everybody, but most of us want to go home and see our family.
And I've had this experience too. So as a writer, have you had something that, like, maybe an executive told you this has to go, and you like so vehemently disagreed with it, and you still had to take it out because of that, because they said something?
Here's the thing. I think you can fight for your point of view. If you really believe in something, you can fight for it in a way that's not combative. In other words, if the executive says, we want you to change this, you can ask them why. What is it about it? Is it offensive to you? Is it hurting the character? Are you bored? Do you think it's not funny? Like there's a reason why this person is saying this thing. And so you'd have to go figure out what it is, and maybe you can talk through the issue and say, yes, I see what you're saying, and I will make sure that your problem is addressed and still get this thing to at least be seen or recorded. We may wind up cutting it out later, but let's just film it and see what happens.
Yeah.
A lot of the time people forget their note too. I mean, the famous story about Mel Brooks and the producers. He's doing the producers with Gene Wilder, and the backer of the thing sees the dailies. Oh, you got to fire Gene Wilder. And Mel Brooks says, oh, absolutely, 100%. I know exactly the actor we'll replace him with. Yes, boss. And then she just never does. And then no one says anything. Like the backer just never checks. And then the movie's made and it's over and it's done. And
they just forgot the note.
Well, and forgot about it. It's like, and when the movie's done, it's like, oh, Gene Wilder's great. People forget what they say. They forget their notes.
Yeah. Hey, man, you're not only smart, you're a good guy. You seem like a really good guy, Jay. And thank you for doing this. And
what do you say to that? Yes, I am a very good guy. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
yes.
well,
I'm better than you think I am, Moosie. I'm better than you think I am. You just tip of the iceberg.
How did Don't Be Alone? What does the name mean, and how do people find your podcast?
People can find the podcast in a very interesting way. They can type into their search engine "Don't Be Alone with Jay Kogen," Kogen, and then they can find it on YouTube or Spotify or Audible or any place you get your podcast. Kind of the same place as Charlie Kogen's music is available, but you can watch it on the YouTube and Spotify. There's a visual element. I'm sure every place your podcast is available. And the title, Don't Be Alone with Jay Kogen, I tried to come up with a title that sounded a little creepy, or something that was a little weird and strange, and maybe a question like, what's going on there? So get people interested. But it was originally it was also because we were in the middle of, when I started conceiving it, we were in the middle of the pandemic, and I thought too many people are too lonely, especially younger people. And so I thought, okay, well, let's have, my rule is no shade on this show, but my rule is face-to-face conversations. And so I don't do Zoom. I do face-to-face, in-person conversations, so that, I'm trying to live what I preach, which is sit like you and Tom Lynch up at the Glendelly having coffees. Like, there's nothing that beats that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll ask you most important, because this is what everyone wants to make sure that I get out before we end. How can people follow you on social media?
Well, it's very difficult. You have to follow JayKogen at wherever you are. Facebook, sure. Instagram, sure. Don't be alone with Jay Kogen on TikTok, but there's also Jay Kogen, I think, somewhere on TikTok. I'm really not present there, but I'm on I'm on Threads, I'm on Blue Sky, I'm on X. Like, I'm the most reachable television producer in the history of television.
I must confess, I thought we were having Joe Rogan on.
You can't get Joe Rogan. You wish you could get Joe Rogan.
What a pleasant,
I'm gettable.
Right.
That's the thing about me. I'm a gettable guest.
All right, man. Well, hey, you know what? If anything, you have 2 new viewers. I don't want to speak for Jonathan, but I'm now watching.
Oh,
I'm watching your podcast. And,
but Jonathan, have you subscribed?
I did subscribe, actually.
Okay, thank you. That's all we care about are subscriptions, right?
Yeah, that's all.
Don't you want people to subscribe to this show?
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Subscriptions. It doesn't cost you anything. People subscribe. Are you having fun? Of course you are. You're still listening and you're still watching, so you're having fun. Subscribe to this show right now. Press the subscribe button. It costs you nothing. If you don't want to watch it 1 week, you don't ever have to watch it again. But it helps us keep the lights on. So come on, why wouldn't you do that?
We couldn't say it better ourselves right there. Look, that's a pro right there.
Subscribe, mostly subscribe.
Right on. Well,
Jay, again, thank you so much.
This was a pleasure. I really enjoyed meeting you, and I would love to find out more about you. Less about me, more about you.
Yeah. Well, once again, this has been Pop Culture Retro. I'm Jonathan Rosen with Moosie Drier. And again, a very special thanks to Jay Kogen. And please like, comment, and subscribe.
Thank you for tuning in to Pop Culture Retro, where no one was hurt during the making of this podcast. Listening to this podcast just makes you really cool.